Energy, like water, is a vital requirement. We at the TCS Impact Series take technology very seriously. And I think we're honored today to have Rodney in the studio with us to talk specifically around energy, but how to use energy smartly. Rodney, thank you very much for joining us. Rodney Taylor is the Managing Director of Guardian Eye. Guardian Eye is part of the Vivica Holding Group, and the companies within which operate and specifically focus around technology and the use of technology, of how we can better enable and empower ourselves in the current energy crisis. Rodney, welcome to TechCentral, and thank you very much for being here today.
Brilliant. Thank you for the invite. Looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you. Now, Rodney, we all understand there's a crisis. We all understand that energy can be used in different ways. The headlines, even in today's news, we're talking about how Pick and Pay are planning for no end to load shedding. There's lots of talk about the economy going into a spiral decline. Let's think positive. Let's talk about the aspects around energy consumption and using that energy smartly today.
100%. Well, listen, I think the headline statement came from our previous Eskom CEO, where he said that Eskom by themselves can't solve the problem, and they're relying on the public as well as corporate. And I see corporate and the public are now starting to realize that energy is a luxury now. In the past, you would turn it on and it was available. There's just not enough available anymore. And I think the public and corporate is starting to realize that. It's the state of the nation to talk tonight. I'm very interested to see what Cabinet and Cyril has to say about what's happening. But it's not a South African crisis. It's a global crisis. I mean, we've got California going through power problems at the moment. We've got Europe. We've got Australia. So this is no means a South African problem. This is a global problem. And that's the reason that using smart energy is a global phenomenon, not a South African phenomenon.
And I think to echo what I've been hearing in the news, but also being stated by people like Rodney Taylor, the CEO of Eskom, this is what you're saying, everyone's problem. And it's all really well saying, let's reduce our consumption. But let's reduce our consumption and be clever about how we actually generate and save the power we're generating.
100%.
Tell me a bit more about Guardian Eye.
So Guardian Eye is part of the Vivica Group. Business has been around 12 years. And we're an Internet of Things business. I mean, it's a big word, and people often tell me, what do you do? I mean, Internet of Things means you can almost boil the ocean. There's so much that's happening around IoT. But Guardian Eye focuses specifically in three verticals. Energy is a vertical we've been focusing on for many years. Safety and security is also a very big part of our business. And through our nerve center, which runs 24/7, and through all of our platforms that we're able to retrieve data, whether it's electrical information that we require or information around assets or people, all of this information is then gathered centrally, and through our nerve center we can analyze and start making business decisions for our customers around the information that we're receiving.
And can we talk about that energy management piece?
Yes. So quite rightfully, you said originally is that you want to save energy, but where do you start? So the answer is not for a retailer to go and just buy a generator or buy solar panels. He needs to establish firstly where's the energy being used and how's the energy being used. And that's when we start talking about smart energy. We physically put down sensors to analyze exactly where the consumption of energy is. I can even tell you if a microwave oven is turned on. I can go down to that detail. Once we've got that detail, we can then start managing where we can start helping and assisting to obviously reduce energy costs before we even start advising the customer on buying alternate energy products.
Okay. Interesting. I was just thinking quite practically on the way here about thermostats, rheostats, temperature control, smoke detectors, all those sort of tilt meters, ways in which we can identify the behavior of an electronic appliance, but perhaps be a bit more clever about it than just turning it on or off.
100%. So, for instance, an example is refrigeration. Refrigeration is one of your highest consumptions out there of power, electricity. It's also the most appliance that's obviously turning these appliances on and off is also very bad for them. So with all this load shedding that's occurring, there's also the damage that's been done to equipment. So with smart energy, it also allows us to not have the equipment being turned on and off. The equipment will constantly maintain when load shedding arrives, and then we can gradually turn off equipment that's required. So it's the total management of that appliance and application. It's not literally turning a switch on and off. And for the viewers out there that don't understand energy, you pay different rates at different times when you're consuming energy. And also, if you increase your demand, you get penalized very highly by Eskom on the municipality. So what our systems will do, it'll even turn a building on gradually, so we don't go into the demand levels.
Yeah.
And it'll also turn off the building as fast as possible, because we want to cut off as quickly as we can the energy consumption, but gradually turn on the power so we don't go into our demand levels. So it's not literally just about turning an appliance on and off.
Okay, so we're talking about energy management and the sensor part of it. What does the platform look like that gives you the visibility of what's actually happening in that space?
Correct. So we've made the platform that the customer doesn't have to become an energy expert, because at the end of the day, we're the experts and we are there to analyze the data and to obviously implement the solution that we suggest is best for that retailer. And also, the retailer can't operate in the dark. He can't operate with his fridges off. So there's a certain point that we can go as far as we can go. Otherwise, the retailer can't operate or the business can't operate. So we've designed a mobile app. That mobile app then sits on the person's actual handset, Android, iOS, or any handset that's available out there. And it'll actually notify him if he's doing well for the day or if he's doing badly for the day. So it's this gamification integration with the customer to let them know how they're doing. And many, many customers now, big corporates, are putting KPIs against their staff and against their targets to drive KPI measures with the amount of energy consumed and tying in with the sales that are actually produced. So your sales and your energy are starting to become two graphs that are being monitored and watched very carefully.
And so it'll just be a bit more practical there. Over a period of time, you could forecast and anticipate what the energy consumption should be based on machine learning and IoT.
Correct.
Then along that trajectory, and I'm thinking a cricket analogy,
Yes.
the worm,
Yes.
where are you in relation to the worm?
100%. And in real time. So we collect 4,000 incidents per second. So this is real-time behavior. And that's why, so with smart energy, you need to react. You can't be reactive. You need to be proactive. So our entire IT platform is proactive to the customer, that at all times he's getting live interaction with what's actually happening on the ground. And he could have hundreds of sites out there that we can manage and monitor, hundreds of sites at the same time. And no human person can manage 100 sites without intelligence, monitoring, and people behind the scenes in our nerve center to advise and assist them with regards to their energy consumption.
So a self-managed form of load shedding and load upping.
Correct.
And as opposed to just flicking the switch and turning it all off, you gradually manage that process.
100%.
And that logic is something that's shown very visibly through a transparent platform.
Correct.
Sounds fascinating. Can we just jump a bit into the nerve sensor that you referred to
Yes.
a while ago? You talked about how there's a sort of monitoring and a security aspect to a lot of
Correct.
what we're trying to achieve here.
100%. So, our business is all about collecting data and collecting information. With the energy crisis in South Africa, drove us into that vertical. Our customers drove us there for us to be able to help them and enable them a bit with obviously the information to drive their businesses to be more profitable and to be more better operational. But the same applies to us managing and monitoring the assets that they've gone and purchased. So specifically around solar panels, specifically around generators, diesel theft, copper theft. There's so much happening out there in South Africa, and there are these valuable assets. So our nerve sensor also attaches tamper-proof sensors to appliances, motion detection. We've got highly advanced camera analytics.
I was going to say cameras.
Where we've actually got mobile cameras now that don't even require connectivity or power. They're self-sufficient. They connect automatically to our cloud, and they've got batteries that connect automatically to our cloud. So I can literally drop down a camera sensor anywhere in the country, and I can monitor and analyze an asset to make sure that asset is safe at all times. We watch things 24/7. So Big Brother, Guardian Eye is always watching.
Yeah.
And with that, we're connected with online intelligence, as well as SAPS, as well as most of the national security companies in South Africa. That if an incident happens, we will then alert that company then to react.
So I'm very much hearing this managed business services.
Yes.
And I'm very much hearing the fact that you're a consultative organization directly to business with an element of control and management in order to guide the better use of smart
100%.
energy control and management.
So the buzzword out there has been facilities management for many years, but we found that facilities management was in a vertical by itself, and we found that security companies were sitting in a vertical by themselves. Guardia and I, with our nerve centers, combine these two technologies together. That we are now managing the facilitation of your property around its energy and consumption, and managing not just facilities of it, we're actually managing the access and control of your appliances, as well as monitoring and managing the safety, security of all of your appliances and your assets. So you have one nerve center with all of these sensors now talking in one place, that we can now obviously put the measures in place to react accordingly if something happens. Yeah.
Brilliant. So we're no longer talking about the negatives, we talk about the positives.
100%.
And I'm loving this. Can you tell us some of the market trends you're experiencing at the moment?
Yeah, so with things being turned on and off, it's obviously causing damage to appliances. So insurance companies are looking at ways to change their policies. I saw a statement the other day that insurance companies will be adding a clause relating to load shedding in some of their agreements. So they must be taking blows out there. So an example of what we're doing now is we're even putting sensors on compressors of fridges. So I can detect if a compressor is obviously not vibrating correctly. Yeah. So we can preventively contact that supplier or that client and say, listen, you've got a problem with your refrigeration, and let the refrigeration expert come out before something happens to that compressor. So it's this total managed business services around all assets. So it's not just theft, it's also monitoring the health of the asset, as well as monitoring the safety of the asset.
And I like how you talk there about look at those leading indicators as opposed to reactive. 100%. And unfortunately, you're absolutely right. Insurance companies, I also read to my refrigeration, a lot of the computerization of these fridges is prone to blowing.
Correct.
Or just going into a freeze mode.
Correct.
Excuse the pun.
Yeah.
Which then results in a call out in order to reset same fridge. Nothing's actually wrong with it, but it wasn't designed to be on off
100%.
ESCOM.
And I mean, if you take refrigeration, is the compressor that's gone? Is it load shedding that's happening? Is there a fault with the fridge? So there are so many things that can happen on an appliance or an asset, and with the information we can gather, we can advise accordingly exactly what's wrong with that actual appliance. Also, what we're finding is there are millions of old technology still in South Africa. This is South Africa. This is not Europe. In Europe, yes, you'll get a wonderful new aircon, you'll get a wonderful new refrigeration. They all come with the IoT and technology already built into them. But to go and rip and replace, I think Checkers have got 10,500 stores out there. For them to go and rip and replace 10,500, it's not going to happen. That's a 25-year journey that Checkers would have to go with. So what we empower our customers, it's not a rip and replace. Okay, we smarten up their current equipment. We smarten up their current cameras. So if you've got old technology out there, cameras or old appliances, with our sensors and our software, we can actually smarten up your appliances that you don't need to replace, and then we can still manage them and monitor them as if it was one of the latest 2023 appliances coming out or a 2023 camera.
Brilliant. I love that. And I know we're talking a lot about the retail space, but I'm sure that manufacturing, production, and many other industries or verticals that you are very sort of intensely involved in.
100%. So we our focus, we don't want to be a jack of all trades.
Sure.
So, there are areas like mining, there are areas like agri that's obviously consuming massive amount of power. Generally, those large, high-end top 500 companies have got really, really bespoke solutions in place. It's your mid-level corporate that doesn't have budget now to go out and do these massive investments. So we're finding our sweet spot is your mid-level corporates. Your high-end guys, we do consult to them, especially around the Internet of Things, and our camera analytics is used extensively in mining. And there we are actually managing and monitoring breach of perimeters. So we look after several mines at the moment. With our analytics, we are monitoring and looking for breach of perimeter.
The world you're working in talks about optimizing self-consumption. It talks about dynamic load balancing. It talks about smart charging, smart metering. And I think that for us at TechCentral, we're so interested in what that technology does. And you very much elaborated on that, so thank you very much. What are some of the future and forward-thinking considerations that you might be bringing to the market?
So one of the big trends at the moment is electric cars. I know we sit here in South Africa and we go, well, it's never going to happen. Well, you will need to go and look at what the manufacturers are posting on their websites, all the OEMs. Some of them are talking, one of them, I think it was Jaguar, by 2030, they want to be only selling either hybrid vehicles or electric vehicles.
I read that.
And that has a massive impact on the grid. Okay, so if you look at the numbers in Europe, if Europe continue with the amount of car sales, it'll start affecting their grids. You can imagine adding, when we added 4 billion cell phones to the planet, they all required charging. So that affected our grids.
Sure.
An electric vehicle is much bigger than a cell phone. And the information that we've retrieved, if we continue on our current trend with our current energy consumption, with the adding of EV cars, we haven't found a grid in the world that can actually cope with that effect without having load shedding. So there are some new clever ways to charge these vehicles. So one of our products is an intelligent smart charger, because we're obviously analyzing and monitoring grids and monitoring. The same will apply with when you want to charge a vehicle. We can pull power from the most cost-effective areas. If you've got solar, or if you have energy that is stored in a battery, or if your rates are very low in your area, our intelligent algorithm will detect which is the best way to get that electricity and charge your vehicle using the lowest cost of energy to start charging a vehicle. So that's where we're going with intelligent go-to, is how do we retrieve the power, how do we manage the power, and then how do we distribute that power in the best effective way.
Rodney Taylor, Managing Director of Guardian Eye. I'm James Erasmus at TechCentral. I've thoroughly enjoyed today's conversation. Thank you very, very much. The one thing I would like to say is the psychological safety that you're also bringing to the end user. Not only did I read this morning is that there's a potential tax break in a lot of what you're doing, but also just knowing that you've done what you can. And arguably, what you're doing and the systems you're putting in place and the way in which you're empowering organizations to be able to manage their own power, meter their own energy usage, and reduce their consumption as best they can in a smart way is phenomenal. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time. Awesome. Really had a good time. Thanks. Cheers.
We look forward to all of our next conversations.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.